On the banks of the Yukon River, this is Whitehorse, capital of the Yukon. If you got this far in the gold rush of 1896, the difficult part of your trip was over, and the gold fields of Dawson were a mere 500 kilometers ahead. There's a great museum here, but we didn't come to see the wildlife, and we weren't traveling by dog sled. There was something strange going on here. It seemed like all over town there were smart cars, something you don't associate with harsh northern conditions.
It's a publicity stunt. You see, Mercedes is tired of people thinking that smart cars are just wimpy little city cars. They want to prove they can take it. So we're going to drive these things 600 kilometers up the road to Dawson City, then from there another 800 kilometers across the Arctic Circle to Inuvik. And guess who my driving partner is?
It's Marcus Breitschard, the president of Mercedes-Benz of Canada. Of course, he was interested in proving that the smarts could handle winter conditions way up north, but I did notice he was carrying a couple of volumes of poetry with him. More about that later. The departure from Whitehorse was planned for 8 o'clock in the morning. Still dark here in late January.
Here it begins. We're going to spend 4 days in that little car.
You and I?
Do you think we'll get along?
Wow. I'll tell you after, actually.
I guess we don't know yet.
Tuesday night.
We have 2,600 kilometers to cover on frozen roads. You're doing the first stint. I hope you're up to it.
As the sun came up, we could see that this was going to be a very interesting drive. The Yukon scenery was magnificent. Tourists like us generally only come up here in the summer. As it became brighter, around 10 o'clock in the morning, we could see that we had got ourselves into a real winter driving test. Dawson City was going to be our first stop. No problem so far, and the weather looked good. Dawson was the boom town of the Klondike gold rush of the late 1890s. Some of it still stands, and nearly all of it looks original. The sourdoughs with gold fever mostly arrived by boat, much smaller ones than this.
Dawson City, Yukon, home of the Klondike, the gold rush. Well, I didn't come by paddle wheeler, I came by Smart Car.
The smarts lined up at a local hotel, which has seen more dog teams in front than these European mini cars.
How did you like the drive to Dawson City?
You know what, it was a great drive, especially the 2 parts which I drove. The part which you drove was interesting and unforgettable.
Yeah, I saw you terrified in the seat there. But, you know, the cars really held the road. It was icy all the way. There was no problem at all.
Yeah, you know, this is actually the reason why we are finally here, just to not only have a great time together, but to demonstrate that this little car is a technological marvel.
We had some time to walk around Dawson. If you've read Pierre Berton's book Klondike, you know what to expect. The next morning at 8 o'clock, which of course is still dark, we headed off for the most demanding part of the trip, up the Dempster Highway to Inuvik. When we made our first stop, a couple of journalists drove straight into a snowbank and got stuck. They tried pushing it out, but that didn't work. Fortunately, we had a big Geladenwagen in the convoy, and they hooked up a rope, and with a sharp tug, the tiny Smart was free. Over the Dempster Highway we went. Marcus at the wheel for this section. You wouldn't see any oncoming traffic for at least an hour, and then a couple of huge trucks. There is exactly one gas station between Dawson and the Arctic. Fortunately, it was open. Next stop, the Arctic Circle, for a photo op. Some people, including this distinguished journalist and author, saw it as an opportunity for a once-in-a-lifetime cover shot.
Show me that Toronto Star. Marcus, we're at the Arctic Circle. Are you enjoying the ride?
You know what, I have to say, today was one of the most exciting ones I ever had. It was actually unexpectedly smooth.
Yeah.
For me. When you drove, I was by far more relaxed than yesterday. He turned out to be a good driver.
Oh, good.
He is, I have to say that.
Well, it's a great Canadian adventure.
You know what, this is something you have to do once in your lifetime. Definitely you have. Yeah.
Well, we got a long ways to go, so let's keep going.
Let's keep going.
When we reached the Mackenzie River, it was of course frozen solid, and the summertime ferry was in its winter resting place. Across the ice bridge we went. The kilometers went by. This is no trip for a casual family vacation. These are seriously difficult roads, and the distances are immense. I know that Germans love the far north and are numerous as tourists here. And when we stopped, I found Marcus engrossed in a book of Robert Service poetry.
We have read books like The Klondike or Jack London, but to be here then and to see this great outdoors and the unbelievable nature, this is something very special, and to see how well our little smart car behaves here.
It's done well. Now you have a ballad for us. I know you're a Robert Service fan.
By accident, I have here a book of Robert Service with me. I wanted the gold and I sought it. I scrabbled and mucked like a slave. Was it famine or scurvy I fought it? I hurled my youth into a grave. I wanted the gold and I got it. Came out with a fortune last fall. Yet somehow life's not what I thought it, and somehow the gold is null. There's a land where the mountains are nameless and the rivers all run God knows where. There are lives that are erring and aimless, and deaths that just hung by a hair. There are hardships that nobody reckons. There are valleys unpeopled and still. There's a land, oh, it beckons and beckons, and I want to go back, and I will.
The Dempster Highway is Canada's only Arctic highway. It was great to drive its entire length, but I don't recommend it unless you're ready for a real expedition.
Do you think a smart car is a good car to drive to the Arctic Circle?
You know what, I was absolutely sure that the Smarty will make it, and it's a absolutely appropriate car, but what I didn't expect is how much fun it is to drive it up to Inuvik and back down here in such a short time. So I guess all of us, we had great fun.
But it's a city car, not an Arctic car. What's the point of this?
The world somehow is a global city, so you can get anywhere. But why did we go to the place? First of all, to show that the Smart is doing well in the winter under extreme conditions, and Inuvik certainly is one of the last frontiers here in Canada. The snow highway, the ice roads, we had good experiences there. It was great. The other point is that the Arctic Circle certainly fits perfectly well into the discussions we have at the moment about global warming, about the CO2 footprint of a vehicle. And the Smart 2 years in a row got the award of the Ministry for Natural Resources in Canada for the best fuel consumption as a two-seater. So I think the connection is there, and we wanted simply to show how well that fits.
So the Smarts conquered Canada's Arctic highway. I was impressed. Well, coming up next, the most important new Hyundai ever.